My guest this week is widely regarded as one of the UK's finest singers. Welcome, Tony Christie.
One of them.
I'm allowed to say that because I know you. How are you?
I'm good, yeah.
I'm very busy, so I believe.
I'm very busy, yes. In fact, too busy. And
Well,
I've never, ever said that before in my life, but it's been mental.
Well, it's fantastic.
It is, really, yeah.
So, right then, life stories. Let's go right back.
Now then, memories.
Memories.
Right.
You were born in...
I was born in 1943 in a place called Conisbrough, which is about 6 miles from Doncaster. So I'm a South Yorkshire lad.
Right.
Yep.
Yorkshire lad, born and bred.
Yep.
And I read that your dad was Irish, played piano.
Yeah, my grandparents, my grandmother played the fiddle in a ceilidh band, and my grandfather played the squeeze box in a ceilidh band, and my father, he played the piano.
So it was like a musical family.
Yeah, very.
But when did you find out that you could sing? What was
I think the first time was when I was a little lad at school. I'd be about 6, 7, and the music teacher, we were all singing, and the music teacher walked down listening to everybody and grabbed me. She said, "You can sing, go and sit at the front." And I would be about 6, I think, then. And that was it. And when my relatives used to visit the house, my dad played the piano and I used to sing, and they'd give me a sixpence. And I found out that it's not a bad job, this.
That's a good way to start.
Yeah, that's how I started.
And so, you know, early days, what were your influences? Who were you listening to then? What sort of music did you listen to?
My taste changed dramatically when my father came back from the Air Force. And he waited until he thought I was responsible enough to give me his record collection, which was old 78s of Benny Goodman, all the big bands, and all the great singers, the Ella Fitzgeralds, the Frank Sinatras. And I went from being an Elvis and rock and roll fan to being an absolute big band fanatic fan. And Sinatra, when I was 12, Sinatra was my big hero.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I worked with Alvin Stardust, he did the opposite. He started off with the big band records, and then somebody brought an Elvis, and he went that way.
Oh,
so
right.
Strange.
Yeah.
But and I read this great line when you sort of got into working as an accountant, and you know, the music sort of took over from the accountancy.
Well, my dad. The thing was, my dad was an accountant, and he wanted me to be the same thing. But at school, my worst subject was arithmetic. I was useless. So why that? And I used to go to day school and night school, and I was working in an office as a wages clerk in a steel company, and doing weekends singing. And found out that I enjoyed the singing better than I enjoyed the 5 days a week in the office. So I've drifted into it, basically.
I like the quote, though, is go and do the gigs and stay doing them. I love that.
That was my boss, yeah.
And then, obviously, at that time, and you know, I suppose I'm a little bit later than you, but I can remember the working men's clubs were massive. The entertainment was huge in all the working men's clubs. Every town had probably 2 or 3 working men's clubs. So and you got into doing those.
My first paid gig was I used to sing with my mate at school, and we used to walk home from school singing Everly Brothers, that kind of stuff. And then my Uncle Jack was a committee man at the local working men's club, the Ivanhoe Working Men's Club in Conisbrough. And he said, "We've got a big show on next Friday, and we short of an act. Will you and Dave open the show and do 3 or 4 songs?" Well, I play guitar, and that's all we knew, about 3 or 4 songs. And I said, "Well, we're not professional, you know." He says, "Well, yeah, but you'll be I've heard you sing, you know, you'll be fine." So that's how we started off, and we got paid £2 a piece. which in 1961 was...
It was good.
That's a fair bit of beer.
Yeah, yeah.
For 17-year-old lads.
You mentioned Dave. Is he still around?
He's still alive. I don't know what he's doing these days. I met him about 5 or 6 years ago. I think he's retired now. He likes to go fishing and drinking.
Would you like to do that?
Nah, too busy.
It's in your blood, isn't it, once you do it?
Fish. I used to be a mad fisherman. Yeah. No, that's how we started. I'll tell you what's top of the bill. I don't know if people remember this, but Norman Collier. This was 1961, and there was a girl singer on there who became an actress. She became Ivy Tilsley.
Lynn Perry.
Lynn Perry, that's
Lynn
right.
Perry.
Yeah.
And her brother was Dougie Brown.
Dougie Brown, yeah, he's a comedian.
Yeah, I knew Dougie quite well. Well,
yeah.
And we talked about this before, but I can remember a club that I used to work at in a place called Ashton-under-Lyne near Manchester, and the boss, who was a big singer, he loved to sing, he loved all the Sinatra stuff, and he says, "Oh, you've got to come on this night, you've got to come down. He's got this great singer coming, he's got this awesome band," and you turned up, Tony Christie, and you had, was it the Penmen?
The Penmen, yeah.
And you had two guys who became really, really good mates of mine. Was Paul Latham on trombone, and Lenny, who I eventually ended up with Sedaka with.
Yeah.
And I do remember, you know, it was just like, wow, you know, you obviously worked a lot because the band was so tight.
I had to. Well, I had to because if I missed one night, that was my wages.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
And there were times when I had to borrow off the next night to pay for the night before, you know.
But the beauty of
But I had a great band, that was the main thing.
But you could work every night in those days.
You could do, yeah.
I mean, you know, talking about the social clubs, I remember going up to the northeast.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could work every night, 2 a night for a month, and not do the same one twice.
That's right.
Because, you know, there were that many of them.
And around the greater Manchester area, you could work 52 weeks a year and never do the same.
Yeah.
A week at each nightclub.
Yeah, because you had the Poco.
That's right.
And the Golden Garter and the Talk of the North. And
just every little...
Yeah, I cut my teeth in plenty of those. You know, it was like in those years, those times, you not like today, you know, people have got like the studios in their bedrooms and, you know, you can bang out a track and you can stick it on YouTube and it's out there. Those days, you had to work for a deal, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it probably took people 5, 10 years before they got even recognised to be able to get a deal.
It took me 10 years to get a deal. Before I had any success as a, you know, on record. 10 years, yeah. So I did my apprenticeship.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your first? What was your first release?
I did one in about It was a Les Reed song called "Turn Around." Unfortunately, it was also recorded by Kathy Kirby. I got all the radio plays, but because she was a big name, she got all the TV shows with her version, and one sort of killed the other. So, yeah, just one of those things.
But then you had, I mean, I'm not sure about the order, but you had like Las Vegas.
That was the first one, yeah, Las Vegas. And I got that because I was signed to the two songwriters, Mitch Murray and Peter Callender. Right. They had written this song and sent it off to Gordon Mills, who played it, didn't like it, sent it back. Didn't even bother to play it to Tom Jones. Right. So they gave it to me and I got it. It was a hit round the world, so that was it.
And another song that you did, Avenues and Alleyways, which was one of my favourites. Yeah. And I remember when I worked with you, we met Sylvia Anderson, you know, Jerry, and it was Lady Penelope, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I can remember you introducing us to her, and she spoke, and it was like, oh my God, it's Lady Penelope. Yes. That was fantastic.
Avenues, yeah.
And how did that one come about? How did, you know?
Well, I was in the studio making an album with Mitch and Peter, and during the break for lunch, they said, "Will you do us a favour and nip into Studio 2?" This was Chapel Studios on Bond Street. We were submitting a song for a TV series. Will you go and demo it for us? I said, "Yeah, okay." He said, "All we've got is the main hook." And so I nipped next door and sang that little bit. In the Amarillo, that was it.
And then we come to, I mean, Amarillo. I mean, what more can we say about Amarillo?
And yeah, there's a strange story about that song, because the first time round, it was #1 in Spain for about 6 months. It was the big record of the year, 1971. And it only made about number 17 in the British charts. And it was #1 in Germany and all over the world. And we couldn't figure it out, and they said, well, that was the year that people went to Spain for the holidays. They bought it in Spain.
Yeah, yeah.
So it never registered in the British charts.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the only thing that we could put it down to.
And I mean, obviously, you know, we all know the story. Peter Kay picked it up, and you know, the rest is history, as they say. But I saw you do a concert with Neil Sedaka. Was that in London?
Oh, yeah, that was the Albert Hall. Yeah.
Right.
No, I just went there.
I mean, had you met him before?
I'd met him, yeah, back in '71, and met him over in Los Angeles a few times. But he just said, "Do you fancy coming to the Albert Hall? I'm doing a show there." He says, "Do you fancy singing that song with me?"
Fantastic.
So I did.
And you went to Amarillo, didn't you?
I was invited by the mayor, and because they were getting so many hits on their website, so the Sun newspaper flew me out. I was in the middle of a tour. I got 3 days rest of The Voice, but they took me out there to meet the mayor, do TV shows and things, and got the freedom of the city. They'd never heard of the song. Do you know that?
Wow.
They didn't know the song. So I said to the mayor, I said, "But surely Sedaka, has he not played in Amarillo?" "Yeah, he's done the town hall 3 times." I said, "He never sang it, Amarillo?" "No, we only know a song called Amarillo in the Morning by some country and western singer."
Yeah.
But not that song, huh?
I've always had this thing about the first people who went over to America, you know, the pioneers, and when they landed, there had to be a songwriter amongst them, because all the cities and towns that they name are great for songs, aren't they? You know, Amarillo, Phoenix, Wichita, Lyman, and that.
Very, very Spanish sounding.
Yeah, but I mean, can you imagine, like, is this the way to Aberystwyth?
Scunthorpe.
You know, it doesn't work, does it? You know. Right. So, okay, then you went to Spain. I remember, because I worked with you round about sort of that time, 80s, and then you disappeared off to Spain, didn't you?
I went in 1990, I think it was. Yeah. Because it was very quiet for me over here, nothing was happening. Everywhere else, I was selling millions of albums in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, these areas. And we had a holiday home in Spain, so my wife and I just decided to go and live there. Give up.
What's Schlager music?
Schlager.
Schlager music.
It's Schlager music. It's that clapping on the beat music.
Ah, yeah. It's got to be the most annoying thing in the world for a muso.
Clapping on the beat.
On the beat. Oh god. Yeah. Okay. So obviously then the Amarillo happened. Then no, before that, Jarvis Cocker. Obviously a Sheffield lad.
Yeah, he used to go in the same pub as me. My mate was the landlord of a pub which is a big university pub. All the students used to go in there. And this Jarvis used to stand at the other end of the bar. I stood with my mate chatting. And he tried to get hold of me through my sister-in-law. She'd never heard of him. She rang me and said, "There's a guy written you a song, he wants to send it you." I said, "What's his name?" She says, "Hang on, I've written it down." She says, "Cocker, Jarvis Cocker." I said, "You've never heard of him?" She said, "No." So he contacted me and sent me the song, and it became a top 10 hit.
It's brilliant song, brilliant song.
Yeah.
And then Richard Hawley, who I suppose a lot of people aren't really aware of Richard Hawley. He sort of goes under the radar a bit, but very widely respected.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And he was in Pulp at one time with Jarvis.
Yeah.
I did one of my best albums, I think anyway, was with Richard Hawley produced it in Sheffield, and it's called Made in Sheffield.
Yeah,
and it was just an absolute pleasure to work with. But I was living in Lichfield at the time, and I used to drive to Sheffield every day, do a stint, working all day, and then Richard would look at his watch. I think it's time for a pint. And I said, no. Yeah. I used to drive home. I wouldn't get involved.
Probably a wise move.
Very wise.
So, yeah, and then you did an album, an acid jazz label. Was that Roisin? No, how do you pronounce that? Roisin, the girl from the Cranberries.
Oh, Roseanne. Well, it's an Irish name.
Yeah. Somebody will tell us. If you know how to pronounce it, let us know. But that, again, you know, what I admire about you is, you know, you're not frightened to sort of push the boundary, are you? You know,
no, I try anything. You know, like yourself, I'm in the music business, and I never, you know, I mean, I've just done an album of Celtic songs, hundreds of years old. You know. Yeah. Because of my Irish heritage, I suppose.
Yes, I was going to get to that because I'm going to play a bit of the video at the end of the show that you did. And again, what a massive sort of change of direction, but you know, a sort of style that you fit very comfortably in. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you've got like the roots are there, aren't they? Yeah. I mean, you know, and I also read that on your tour at the minute, you're doing like the first half of the show and Ranagrai, yeah, they're doing the first half, and then you've got
they're doing it 4 or 5 songs. Then I go on and do 5 songs with them, right, from the album. Then we have a break, and then I bring my band on, right, and do my normal show the second half. Yeah,
which, as you were mentioning before, has got a very, very old mate of mine, Steve Gilbert, on drums.
On drums, yeah.
I mean, since I've been down in Birmingham, I have sort of lost quite a lot of contacts, but I do keep in touch with what they're doing, and I saw that he was playing with you. And so, you know, Tony Christie today, what's the next move?
Well, I think we're already planning this, the volume 2 of the Great Irish Songbook.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, there must be thousands.
There's thousands of them. Yeah, that's the next thing, and then I've got a lot of touring in the new year. I'm going to try and get a holiday in February, because my wife and I, we've not had a holiday for 8 years. Yeah, 8 years. And so, when you've lived in Spain for 15 years...
Yeah, who needs a holiday?
So
where do you go?
Where do you go? So we're going to my sister-in-law's place in Cape Town, so we'll go there.
Fabulous. Well, I would like to say thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Good pleasure.
Well, I've travelled a bit, but I never was hit since my roving career began. But fair and square I surrendered there to the charms of Rose McCann. I'd a heart to let and no tenant yet did I meet in a shawl or gown. But in she went, and I asked no rent from the star of the county down. From Bantry Bay up to Derry Quay, and from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the sweet Colleen that I met in the county down. The harvest fair, she'll be surely there, and I'll dress in my Sunday clothes, with my shoes shone bright and a hat cocked right for a smile from a nut brown rose. No pipe I'll smoke, no horse I'll yoke, till my plough turns a rust-coloured brown, till a smiling bride by my own fireside sets the star of the county down. From Bantry Bay up to Derry Quay, and from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the sweet Colleen that I met in the county down. That I met in the county down. that I met in the county down.